Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about conditioning video clips for the Shotcut editor. Then that's going to be the first part. The second part is going to be going through movies, TV shows, how to take that from the final product and the Shotcut as well, those final products, and condition them or encode them to X265. So first, Shotcut and the clips. You're going to have a lot of different clips. I use like an HDL cloner box for some of them. That's easy editing mode. I record desktop like I'm doing now. That's variable frame rate. And then if I'm recording just a program window, that's going to be variable frame rate and an odd dimension. So those need to be addressed. And all that can be fixed with ffmpeg, ffmpeg Ultimate Tool, and X264 encoder. So primarily with the ffmpeg, I'm using batch files. So I will basically, if I have something I want to do over and over again, like say my variable frame rate of my desktop, I will go to ffmpeg Ultimate Tool and then do a variable frame rate, have the constant rate factor, however many iframes I want, if it's easy editing mode, basically the frames per second. So if I want to go ahead and run this or basically make the script first, then do the settings here. Basically, I can save it, and this can be repeatable. So if I have the same clip, if I have a lot of clips that need the same thing, I just hit run, it creates the script, and then I can go and, okay, it'd be in here. Then I just rename it, and as you can see, I've got scripts to draw boxes, frame size, gain limiter, that kind of thing. So batch files are your friend here. Especially if you have a lot to condition, want them the same quality, and don't want to use this user interface device all the time. You can just drag your clips and drop them. That's something you can try. Of course, the odd dimension, avidemux can do that resize to fit. That's a good one. I won't go into how avidemux or ffmpeg can resize, but it can also resize, and I haven't got that availability right now. So let's see. Live video is a completely different animal. If it has intra frames, it's a real messed up frame rate. That will be needed to be conditioned probably with X264. Let me get into my scheme here. It's really kind of interesting. I have a cartoon. I've done cartoons. So I've got like almost 2,000 of them, and they only are really good at, the only good editor is a 2010 editor of avidemux that actually takes damaged cartoons or TV programs, and it actually lets me go ahead and edit what I can. So I need to condition these to X265. Well, also there is some that, let me see if I can bring it up. They have like artifacts. So the ffmpeg can also fix this. The dimensions are standard definition, and ffmpeg can draw a black box. And I have something to do just that, to take care of these white lines here. So I have something to do that. Cartoon draw box. So I just drag it in there, and then it makes an X265. And all these are standalone. And I'm going to point out there's some that are repetition, which are non-local files, and then everything else is local files. So what I mean by that is you have projects, basically Shotcut clips, that kind of thing, where you just want to work in like a media pool and have everything done here. That's local. Non-local is like, let me see, ffmpeg here. It's used, my scheme is file Q and sub. So these two files right here are non-local. So you can take like a cartoon on like a network storage device, like I have them here, drag from the network storage device to the file Q, and then however many files cartoons you want to process, it would go through each one of them using this subdirectory. So it would basically copy the cartoon to the media pool, work on it here, clean up, encode to 265, and then copy it to a X265 folder underneath the cartoons. So everything that is the file Q and has sub in it is non-local. Everything else is local, so it'll just work in whatever file you want. So that's my scheme for ffmpeg and 264. You'll notice that I can condition many clips either from a network storage device and it puts it somewhere, or it'll just work in one folder and the output is shown. It's not copied anywhere. It's all right here. So you can basically keep a handle on where all your clips are. So later I'm going to have these cartoons from a old computer, and the file queue and the sub are going to basically be on that computer, and it's just going to process a lot of files. And that's good for an old computer. I don't want to do it with any of my new computers, just in case the hardware messes up or craps on me. So that's my scheme for the batch files. So I use a lot of different batch files for different things. The easiest batch file kind of thing I use is ffmpeg Ultimate Tool, because you, like, say you just want to work on a clip. Let's just work on it like a desktop program. Just drag it to ffmpeg. Then this will create a standalone batch file of whatever you pick. Either you're replacing audio. There's a whole bunch of things this can do. But first of all, if you have a clip, they're not all going to be labeled. If they're not all labeled, you need the media specs. So that would just run mediainfo, tell you a lot, most everything you want to know about the clip. You know, what's it encoded at, even some of the switches or settings. Since this is from a cloner box, it doesn't really have the codec configuration, but it's just iframes, 2p frames, and then that repeats. So handy program to have. You got to know what each clip does. So before you work on anything, make sure you're working with the right ones and change the right, or use the right filters or operations to achieve your ends. Extract audio, audio offset, gain limiter. If you want to condition your TV show or whatever to just stereo, stereo mix down. And you can also choose the type of audio codec. Fix video container, just makes a new video container. Replace audio. Fast start MP4. Switch MP4 to MKV, and so whatever this is, if it's a MP4, it will be the MKV. So if you drug a MKV in here, it would change it to an MP4 container without re-encoding. So a lot of good tools here. Variable frame rate, change that to a consistent frame rate, and then here's your X264 for better editing, and X265. Very simple settings you can set, and it all makes a batch file. It's an Ultimate Tool, and it's just named ffmpeg.ut.cmd. So if you wanted to keep it, save it, label it something descriptive like I have, and so you can use it later on. And all these can handle multiple files. So I highly recommend my program I created, ffmpeg Ultimate Tool. I'll put maybe a demonstration in the corner, top right corner. So I think I've basically done all the clips. Just look to ffmpeg for all the different things you can condition your clip, the frame rate, that kind of thing, variable frame rate, change that. So pretty much all the tools are here, or you can make batch files to do that. So that should handle all your clips for Shotcut. Now, when you get all these conditioned, like if you need to do the sample rate, so for your audio, let's say you wanted them all a certain like 44 kilohertz, basically you could extract the audio and then put that back in, and adjust the sample rate. So once you have all these clips conditioned how you want, make sure they're labeled. There will be backups of these files, but don't rely on that. Make sure you label them what you've changed them to, like original, or what you've changed, like VFR, constant rate factor, something descriptive, so you know what the clips, in what stage they're at. So let's say we got the clips, we made our Shotcut final product, and here's where we get into the second part. Basically, we're going to take either cartoons, movies, TV shows, or your Shotcut product, or item, or project, Shotcut project, your final project. We're going to basically see, especially in the Shotcut, if it's worth, going to X265 and playing around with that. So we'll just say, okay, let's just say our Shotcut project is sample. So well, let me really rename it. Shotcut sample. Or final. That would probably be a better final cut type of thing. So basically, I use ffmpeg for the X265. I haven't got I've gotten the X264 standalone from Videoland. I've got that working just fine. I can't seem to get the 265 quite working right. And that's because it has a lot of different switches. So let me go into the X264 just a little bit. I'll link to my website. I've made some PDFs and then some notes on how to set some of these settings and what they do. Kind of help you steer clear from changing something too much that messes up your video. So I should have that maybe in the description or somewhere in the top corner. But I've got a lot of stuff for avidemux, xvid, X264 in PDF form on the website. Just in the search box, just put X264 ffmpeg. So basically, we're working with ffmpeg and X265. Like I said, the file queue is for non-local. So all these, since they're in my media pool and that's my temp directory, we're only going to use like nothing from file queue or the subroutine. So it would be just like animation or default. So I'm just going to use these two batch files. And what's cool about these, I've got these on my website also in author batch, author batch files and about author batch files, or just search in the search box. So you can run these and it will tell you the settings, the constant rate factor, and this is kind of what's going to be in the metadata. But don't feel free to just click on it without adding a file to it. But if you wanted this a process, you would just drag your product over and run it. And I'm not going to do that right now because I have this desktop recording working right now with ffmpeg. So I can't bog down the system too much. So basically, if you have, depending on how long your Shotcut product is or TV show or movie, you might want to use avidemux and take like a minute out if you just want to test. That way you're not waiting an hour for it to render in order for you to see the fine result or the good results or whatever results they are. So I recommend doing that if you're just playing around and wanting to see what you can do. So for the cartoon, I'm going to I need to do like a couple thousand of them. So I also need to check my clips. So I've noticed, this is from the original, there's a little artifact of a line, and that happens with some of them, not all. And I'm not sure why that occurs, but I've got a program to take care of that. ffmpeg does that. It draws a black box. And so I'll condition those first and then put them back and then do the X265. But basically all you do is you can either use ffmpeg ultimate tool or the batch file. So let me go to the batch file, and if it's animation, I would just drag it to the ffmpeg animation and it should work fine and encode. And it would all be in this directory, so you can, like I have it renamed the original, so you'd put X265 or final, however you want to label it, and you should be good to test it, run it. Cartoon, 7 minutes, so that doesn't take too long to render. So, but the movies are a different matter. So you want to make sure you tested this out on 265, maybe like little clips, to see if that works for you. You'll get about if you're going from 264 to 265, you'll get close to a third file savings. So maybe 20% smaller file sizes, depending on your settings. So what else? I think I went through, you can do it with the Ultimate Tool, here's the default command. Here's the settings. It also makes a log file. So each one you do, it will make a log, okay, this file completed, and the name, the time, and date. So, how long it took. So I think I will go to the batch files now. So here's ffmpeg in X265. So basically, you would find this on my website. like I said, the file Q copies to the PC from like a network storage device or wherever you got. Then it, yeah, copies it, works on it, and it calls the subroutine, and then checks if there's a small size and errors out for a critical stop. And here is the subroutine with all the settings for the X265. That's where the PDFs would come into play. So you can set to, if you're working with cartoons, you can tune it to cartoons or animation, actually. Preset, and this will show you what these presets are actually changing. So if you don't want a certain kind of change, you can put the change back in with other tags or switches. So handy thing to have these PDFs. I'll have all these batch files on my website, the standalone ones. They have a different scheme, some of them. So I better leave it there. Play around with the different settings. If you have any suggestions on other programs or better settings, let me know in the comments. That's for all right now. Hope this was informative and helps you, condition your clips for Shotcut or whatever video editor you're using. And I hope the resources help. If you have better resources or some notes that you use, put some down in the comments if you want to. I would love to be able to see everyone else's settings. So that's it. Hope this has helped. Have a good